ladies and gentlemen, and welcome once again to the world of V-Gaming Junkie News. The Druss got into the poorhouse via microtransactions, so there's nothing but pure gaming-related meatiness. It is 100% all about the electronic good stuff as we dive deep into all that's new in the various interactive virtual worlds. And so EA mistakenly added the ability to have romantic relations with the Sims family members. By that I mean parents, sons and daughters, and siblings are randomly developing crushes on each other. And as if all that still wasn't bad enough, it just so happens to be taking place on the day that Chris Chan, the infamous internet lolcow, is going to trial. This went down on the 28th of July, of course. You can take a wild guess what the trial is about. It's very related to the subject if you didn't already know. There's also an aging bug with children, but I think someone developing an attraction to their sister or son is slightly more eyebrow-turning. Presumably, it's just a bug and they're working on a fix. For all of our sanities, I'm going to go ahead and give them the benefit of the doubt and assume it isn't some rogue employee's fantasy to date their family members. If you weren't already aware, someone actually spent over $100,000 on Diablo Immortal. Yep, in addition to all the other objectionable things about it, like being a phone game that they ported last minute to PC because of backlash, it's stuffed with microtransactions too. That alone would be bad, but this news story is that said player can't even find anyone to match with. You heard right, the matchmaking record is now, quote, so high that the person literally can't get a battleground. That actually sounds like the person got gameplay boosts with that money, aka pay to win, otherwise why would it matter for matching? It seems the content creator in question is attempting to get a refund, even calling in lawyers. While I'm not sure how much of a case someone would have there since the microtransactions were purchased willingly, it's certainly bad for their PR. Then again, you have to question how much Blizzard even cares about their PR, given their track record nowadays. Maybe Blizzard and this person can work something out, because it would be a real shame for them to have their life ruined, even if it was a self-inflicted wound. So Mojang gave their response to the backlash against the reporting system on Minecraft that was recently making headlines. Supposedly it would comb public and private servers alike for any behavior deemed bad and potentially ban not only from servers but even from playing single player. Or at least that's supposedly going down on the Bedrock edition. Obviously one concern beyond that was that it might spread to the Java version on PC, although getting it to stick might be slightly harder. Basically, Mojang told critics in the nicest possible way where they can shove it and that they're doing it anyway. It looks like they still plan to implement this extremely unpopular reporting system. As I always say, I don't promote piracy, but trying to ban people from playing single player for perceived offenses is almost certainly going to lead down that route. Mojang, as well as Microsoft, you might want to actually start listening to people who have a problem with the way you're doing things. It doesn't matter in the slightest how popular something is, not even Minecraft. That Roman Empire can always collapse. Disregard the people actually keeping it alive, and you'll see if it's really as indestructible as you think it is. And so it seems the Xbox Store's quality control is about as robust as Steam's. By that I mean, as of the second at least, there's a God of War ripoff on its store. Specifically War God Zeus of Child. You play as a very blatant clone of Kratos from the latest God of War and fight within an arena where the janky animations are almost as deadly as the enemies themselves. Supposedly you only really last a few minutes at a time, and it was made in Unity. It really is a shame Unity has to be associated with crap like this and a certain effing idiot's comments. As for the game itself, it's apparently part of the Xbox Creators Collection. It's an area without Microsoft approval and of course no support for achievements. It's a nice idea since it allows upstart creators to upload their creations with little hassle, but it can also lead to something like this. That's not the only ripoff made by this person either. You've got Dinosaur Falling Survival. As Eurogamer points out, it's a very obvious Fall Guys knockoff with a Yoshi character for good measure. Maybe one day this individual will actually make original games and not just very cheap knockoffs. In other news, it seems EA is finally learning what things they really shouldn't be saying out loud. That ought to hold those SOBs. What the? Anyway, Andrew Wilson recently said that single-player games are, quote, really, really important. Mind you, live service games still make up over 70% of their total business, and that's likely because they're counting on whales to spin big with those games. Given EA infamously saying single-player games are finished, or that Cringe tweet suggesting that liking single-player games was a deal-breaker for dating, they seem to be stepping that back now. It's not too hard to imagine why, given I used the words infamously and cringe. Laughingstock is another two words that would also apply. In general, EA's developed quite a negative reputation, one I don't think they're going to shed anytime soon. It says a lot that the best you can say about EA nowadays is when they're not being as bad as they could be. Like when they occasionally allow games like Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order to actually be good by not interfering with them too badly, aka shoving them full of microtransactions. Hopefully people at least keep EA's feet close enough to the fire that we'll get more Jedi Fallen Orders and less Battlefront 2 2017s. I don't exactly have high hopes for a Dead Space remake because of 3, but maybe Star Wars Jedi Survive, Dragon Age, Dreadwolf, and the Black Panther game will be alright. The cynic in me is saying probably not, but at least the door's open for them to be good if EA actually knows how to step through that door. So for those of you who don't know, Halo Infinite's Forge was partially leaked online. Forge, of course, is a level editor that started with Halo 3 and has stuck around the series since then. While Infinite's Forge wasn't completely leaked online, enough of it was leaked that someone actually recreated the rooms of PT with it. It really is a shame that Konami drove away Kojima, since PT really showcased the potential of whatever Silent Hill game he was working on at the time. Anyway, this recreation looks very impressive for basically a partial leak of a map editor for Halo. Obviously it doesn't function as PT should, at least not yet, but it looks pretty spot on. If this is what Forge is capable of, perhaps I should take a look into it. I seriously doubt Doom 2016's Snap Map could do anything like this, so it certainly has that going for it. Naturally, this once again shows the power of fan communities when you just provide the tools for them to make stuff with. For this next news story, I'm afraid I'm going to have to delve into a bit of potty humor. And I mean that quite literally, because this mad lad actually turned his toilet into a gaming PC. You heard right, the YouTuber known as Basically Homeless has a gaming PC that's inside a functioning toilet. I've heard of playing phone games on the John, but this takes it to the extreme. If you'll pardon the pun, it's not exactly a crappy computer either. This bad boy's packing an i7-12700 and an RTX 3060. To think, a toilet actually outperforms my computer, and by a pretty wide margin, but that's state-of-the-art hardware for you. So not only can this porcelain throne game, it can game with ray tracing. Come to think of it, I wonder if this qualifies as liquid cooling. Either way, it's a very impressive, if unnecessary, bit of technology. Finally, this last news story is looking a little sus if you ask me. This news is concerning Among Us VR. It's basically the original Among Us, but in first-person 3D. I imagine that would give a bit more of an advantage overall to the imposters than the original game, since your field of vision is narrower, what with it not being top-down and all. When you're doing a task, you're pretty much going to have your eyes fully on said task. Granted, the original had it pop over the screen, but you'll probably want to look behind your back a lot. You never know when a deranged killer sneaks up on you and stab, stab, stab. Anyway, there was a trailer back in June, but there's now a beta test registration for it. Unfortunately, I won't be able to sign up myself because I lack a VR headset. Maybe there's some way I could use my Xbox Kinect to do it, but I doubt the results would be very pleasant to say the least. Oh well, hopefully anyone who does have a VR headset takes full advantage of the opportunity. Give them a backstab or two for me. And if you're part of the actual crew, throw those dime a dozen backstabbing scumballs into outer space for me. As well as most of the actual crew, because you never know. Better toss them all out just to play it safe. They were all looking pretty sus anyway. And as always, from the page of Games Radar, it's time for the latest round of release dates fresh out of the oven. The 9th has Thymesia for PC, PS5, and Series X, as well as 2 Point Campus for all 6 major platforms. The 10th just has Lost in Play for PC and Switch, while the 11th has Arcade Paradise and Cult of the Lamb for all 6 major platforms. Finally, the 12th has Marvel Spider-Man Remastered for PC and Voyage for the 5 major game consoles. This week's epic freebie until next Thursday is Unrailed, a blocky isometric game that's all about laying down tracks. Specifically, railroad tracks. And that concludes the news broadcast as always. I hope you enjoyed and were well informed. I now Let's Play every single day at high noon. Live stream Mondays and Thursdays unless otherwise specified at 4:30 p.m. and I do news videos like this one every Friday at 6 p.m. That's Eastern Standard Time, of course, but here's a hot tip. If you're a real junkie for games like I am, then feel free to hit that subscribe and bell icon to get your next fix. A like and a comment are always appreciated for those algorithms, but I just hope you genuinely enjoyed yourself, and that is it for now. Thank you so much for tuning in with me. Spread this video around like Mojang's seeming inability to care about their fans, and I will see you next time. Capitalize on life, peace out, have a good one, and I will see you next time.